We are here with House Financial Services Committee Chairman Jeb Hensarling. You just walked off the floor of the House. The vote passed. Now what?
We won. The American people won. So hopefully the nightmare of Dodd-Frank will be gone soon. And what we can do is hopefully get capital back into our economy. Too much capital is sitting on the sidelines. And so what we know under Dodd-Frank is the big banks have gotten bigger, the small banks have gotten fewer. Our economy has lagged. It codified too big to fail into law. The House says no. It's going to be economic growth for all, bank bailouts for none. We give a life preserver to our community banks and our credit unions. We have a whole title devoted to capital formation. We're going to keep Washington accountable, Wall Street accountable. It's a good day. This is all about jobs. It's all about economic growth. Of all the regulations that were imposed on our economy in the Obama era, Dodd-Frank was the worst. And in the House, we just threw it off, and so the animal spirits of free enterprise can roam yet again, and we're going to see Americans with pay increases. The economy's going to come back.
I want to ask you about what Democrats are already saying, and that, of course, is that this is going to potentially deregulate the economy so much that it would lead to another financial crisis. What's your response to that? What's Republicans' response to that? You know Democrats are going to hit on this.
Well, number one, the big banks have gotten bigger under Dodd-Frank. Consumers have been harmed under Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank codifies too big to fail into law. And so it is interesting that the community banks support what we're doing. And the Wall Street banks, I have nothing against them. They serve a very important function in our economy, but they actually oppose the bill. And so with respect to deregulation, it's not a matter of regulation or deregulation. It's a matter of dumb regulation or smart regulation. And so the Choice Act is about smarter regulation that will allow free enterprise to flourish. But listen, we increase the penalties for wrongdoing, for fraud, for deception, for insider trading, but we also make sure that we respect due process and we respect checks and balances within our constitutional system, and so that we no longer have bureaucrats that make the law, that impose their own discretionary views, so that we will have, again, the rule of law in America so that the economy can grow. So again, it's about smart regulation. That's what this is about.
Well, if you're a banker on Wall Street, if you're working at one of these large financial institutions, or if you're a community banker or a financial advisor in Des Moines, for example, what is the timeline for when this will actually move through the Senate? Because, as you know, the Senate tends to move a lot slower. But have you received assurances? You talked to the White House, you talked to the Vice President. Have you received assurances that this is going to happen this year, by the end of this calendar year? Or when will this move through the Senate?
I never use the word assurances. Let's put it this way. I talked to my counterpart in the Senate, Senator Crapo, yesterday. He's thrilled about the bill. He wanted this bill. So the system's supposed to work with his ability to come up with a bill and go to conference with the House. And so that's what I want to do. We received a message of support from the administration. And so, they put congressman in front of my name, not senator. And I don't really like them advising me on how to get my job done. I'm not going to advise them on how to get their job done. But it's pretty clear that we have a vision for capital markets in banking that's all about economic growth, that's all about smart regulation, that's all about replacing complexity with simplicity, replacing regulatory micromanagement with market discipline, replacing bailouts with bankruptcy. And so I think that template is there. I think it's something they can build on in the Senate. I understand the Senate's a very different institution. Some of this is going to get done by the administration. Some of this can get done through our reconciliation process that simply requires a simple majority. And others, I haven't completely abandoned hope on working with the Democrats on some aspects of this bill. But I think before this Congress is over, major portions of the Financial Choice Act will be enacted into law, and it is an absolute critical part of getting this economy moving again, is to unleash capital.
What parts do you think could the president move on through executive orders? And also, Senator Elizabeth Warren is going to slam parts of this, particularly regard to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which Republicans have criticized for quite some time now. Response to that criticism from Senator Warren, and what could the president do on his own?
Well, I'm always happy to hear the professor's views, but the American people don't want to be ruled by a Washington ruling elite or a Harvard ruling elite. And so we've been told before that we're too stupid to choose our own health care. I don't believe that. And I don't believe we're too stupid to choose our own credit cards. and to choose our own bank accounts and to choose our own mortgages. What we need is the greatest form of consumer protection, and that is competitive, innovative, transparent markets that are vigorously policed for force and fraud. And under the Financial Choice Act, we replace the Orwellian named CFPB with a consumer law enforcement agency that does nothing but enforce the consumer laws that we have on the books. Since the CFPB has come onto the scene, free checking has been cut in half. Bank fees have gone up. Mortgages are more difficult to come by. They cost hundreds of dollars more to close. Fewer credit card offerings. In many respects, the CFPB is harming consumers. And when it came to doing what they were supposed to do, they were asleep at the wheel when it came to Wells Fargo. All they did was impose the fine. At the end, somebody else did the work. A classic case of the cop on the beat being in the donut shop. So I don't know how any self-respecting Democrat could actually defend that institution.
And as far as what the president could do with the EOs?
Well, I'm very proud to say that I was invited to the signing ceremony of the very first, for example, Congressional Review Act that undid portions of this. The president can do a lot through executive order in creating new rulemaking authority. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not flipping a switch. But today, for every community banker, every small business, and it takes small banks and credit unions to loan to our small businesses, that today was a very important step forward. It was a historic day to roll back this monstrosity known as Dodd-Frank.
And I know you're very busy, but I do want to get your take on what happened in the Senate with former FBI Director James Comey testifying today. What did you make of that? Democrats saying that investigations need to continue. What are your thoughts on what we saw today?
Well, I didn't see it today because I've been on the floor all day debating the Financial Choice Act. So I really haven't seen it all. It's part of the process. I've got to review Mr. Comey's testimony, but we still have several active investigations going on. So far, I haven't seen a lot of there, but this is an important matter. It needs to be thoroughly investigated, and Mr. Comey's testimony is just one part of a longer process. But again, I had a bill on the floor today. I didn't get to watch it.
One of the things your committee does oversee, though, final question, is terrorism financing. The president, when he was in Riyadh, announced a new cyber terrorism financing task force with Saudi nations. Have you been working in consultation with Secretary Mnuchin, or what can you tell us about that work that you guys are doing? Well,
we frequently meet. This is one of the topics we meet on. Steve Pierce of New Mexico, Congressman Pierce, is chairman of our terrorist finance committee, and so we're doing a lot in this work. We had a hearing today, particularly about how alternative finance channels, including Bitcoin and other blockchain technologies, potentially could be abused and used by terrorist networks. So that work is ongoing. It's very serious. We used to not have that subcommittee on our committee, but I made it into a permanent subcommittee because it's that important and the work continues.